all of you are joining from. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm Sean O'Connell. I'm the head of marketing for Voyager portal. And today we're going to talk about managing risk, how well you're doing it or perhaps not doing it, and how to arrive at a single source of truth in to help manage that risk. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our speaker, Mr. Brett Smart. Brett.
Thanks, Sean. Hopefully everyone can hear me all right. I'm Brett, as Sean presented. I'm the co-founder and COO of Voyager. We've been in place for 4 years now. Let me talk a little bit about my background first and how we came to this pass and how I got into shipping and trying to manage risk. I studied naval architecture at the Webb Institute in New York. After that, I got a master's in transportation from MIT up in Boston, and I went directly into the shipping industry. I joined Stolt-Nielsen, spent a number of years both on their tanker side and their terminal side. And I think I noticed then that it's really difficult in the shipping world to de-risk the business. And it's really difficult to, especially in this industry with so many different users and parties, to find a way to stop events, unintended events from happening. So I went to business school at INSEAD in France, wanted to learn more about business, not just about engineering and operations. I went into consulting for a couple of years. And after that, that's when I decided to do something coming back to the shipping industry and trying to make it more streamlined and efficient and more risk-free. And I think that's a good way to jump into what Voyager does. So I'll explain a little bit where we are, how we're helping companies, and also what that means about de-risking. So we have a methodology, we act as a single source of truth to help companies have less exposure to potential business problems. Then I'll give a short demo on how that actually looks, and we'll open up the floor for QA. And I think this should take no more than 30 minutes, just a nice short introduction to what we do and how we do it. So we're a software as a service platform for managing all types of supply chains, marine supply chains. And I put that because we work in oil and gas, we work with customers who move chemicals, we work with offshore oil rigs, we work with wind turbines and project cargo. Any type of marine supply chain is complicated and complex, and that's what we try to manage. And how do we do that? By using workflows to take in different inputs from various parties. We can use those inputs that traditionally come from other sources to build more data-driven insights and allow our customers and their third parties to have more visibility and clarity onto their business. We already have more than $1 billion of cargo that's being managed via the platform, and it's growing all the time. So it's really nice to see more clients joining us and agreeing that this is a good way to de-risk the business and have a single source of truth. I think everyone can look at themselves and say, wow, there's a lot of lower value, lower complexity tasks that we spend time on. Not just in shipping, but in general, following up emails, but specifically in shipping. If you think about all the data entry that goes on, ETA updates, just responses to simple questions about cargo, temperature, density, whatever it might be, reading documents, processing documents, calculating information from documents, emails being sent around. I think a couple of large oil majors have done some studies that say upwards of 8,000 emails are sent, if you think about all the CCs, BCCs, and copies for a single cargo. That's a lot of time. And just looking for information, looking back at voyages, trying to search email inboxes for more clarity on what's going on for a specific voyage. All of that adds up. And I've put here 40 hours. I've had some internal arguments with my team. I think it's a lot more, but the conservative version is that for every voyage, at least 40 hours is spent on these low value tasks that can be automated, or that can bring in, we can start to bring in more efficient ways of transmitting this information from third parties, from other systems. And at the same time, a lot of the data that's generated during the voyage is lost. I think smart companies know how to take data from email and from spreadsheets and save it so that they can later build some kind of model to predict better what will happen in the future. But a lot of companies just accept that the current way of sharing data is as good as it will get. And we see customers who historically have gotten information via WhatsApp, via spreadsheet, via email, via phone call. I have seen faxes sent, and I don't think I even knew what a fax machine was. And that's data that's not going into a system for analysis. So there's a huge amount of information just being lost at the moment in a ton of maritime processes. So what does that mean? I think every group that manages a supply chain needs to look inwardly and ask a couple of questions. Are my emails and my spreadsheets and my other methods of communication scalable? If I were to get another couple trade lanes or a new product, new clients tomorrow, could I handle this increase in business with what I'm doing now? How many times am I receiving an email on Sunday and luckily I can respond to it, or an email overnight, or heck, just an email in the middle of Monday morning when I'm very busy and I have hundreds of things sitting in my inbox? And really, what is the cost of missing that email? Everyone has an anecdote about missing out on a free partique or some kind of bid that can be really, really costly. Are we managing to capture every cost? So I know that I need to pass on costs potentially to a cargo owner, ship owner, whether it's demurrage or wharfage, dockage, agency fees. Did I miss something because I'm just not sure that everything is structured the right way and how I manage my business? And that happens quite often, we've seen. And finally, maybe an intangible here, but do I feel like I have a strong control over my business? Whether I'm a manager or someone on the front line, if someone comes up to me and asks me, hey, what's going on? What does your day look like? What did your last couple of weeks look like? Can I give a real answer, or do I kind of scramble to look through my email and talk more anecdotally than with facts? And this visibility is really lacking, not just internally, but externally. Am I sharing the right information with my counterparties that they need to know? If I'm on a sales team and I have a receiver that wants to get a shipment, is that receiver really getting the right information with the right cadence, and are they really getting served the way that they should? I think all of these questions, with the way that we handle shipping and cargoes nowadays, it's hard to say yes to that we are handling these the right way. And so that's why Voyager thinks a lot about a single source of truth to help manage all of these different risks that we're showing right here on this screen. What is a single source of truth? So what are the benefits from it? I think a couple of clear, obvious ones. One, it allows self-service access to data. Instead of needing to send an email to a broker and say, hey, where's my shipment? Or what does the noon report look like? Where's that NOR? I can go myself at any point and check out what's going on. At night, the weekend, no transmission time lost in asking somebody else. There's also a lot of faith in the data in a single source of truth. If you get an email from an agent and an email from a surveyor and an email from a ship owner about a statement of facts, which one do you believe? But if you structure your business to take in all of these and triage which one is most important, you really start to believe the data. So if data is coming from a system via API, some kind of integration, we know that data isn't going to be compromised and there won't be data entry errors. And finally, we ensure that we're capturing everything. And I'll show you in a moment, but Voyager has a system where it's impossible to close out a voyage until all the right information is in there. So it's impossible to miss out on certain costs without confirming, yep, this was correct. And a single source of truth is really the best way to move from our current unstructured life in the maritime industry to a much more structured, trustworthy system. I'm going to move now into the demo, and I'd like to show you guys what that actually looks like. All the stuff I talk about with single source of truth. I'm moving my face around the screen here, so sorry for that. Let me make it smaller. There we go. With a single source of truth, there's two sides to it, right? There's an input side and an output side. On the input side, we take information from a large variety of sources. Counterparties can be the broker, the ship owner, cargo owner, agent, surveyor, stevedore, customs agent. You guys know how vast that list can be. And all that information comes into the system and can be purveyed and viewed in one place, or let's say more easily, both a snapshot of what's happening now, and as we continue developing, a snapshot of what we think will happen in the future. So the focus of today's small demo is just to show you where the inputs and outputs are housed. And here's an example of an output, right? Anyone coming into our system can automatically see, hey, here are all the ships that I'm managing. Whether these are ships I know about or ships that I'm already putting on the calendar for the future, can start planning much earlier what my world will look like in the next couple months. And as I look at this specific ship here, not only can I see the itinerary and zoom in really easily into what it's doing, where it's going, if it's on track, if it's going straight for a storm, hopefully the ship's not going to New Orleans anytime soon. We can also get a better view of the key information that's come in. And these again are the outputs. So the ship owner has been updating laycans, lay time. The contract information has come in the form of demurrage rates and time bars. And as documents have been collected from this voyage, we capture every document as well on this one view. Another way to kind of look at the world of shipping is just a more standard schedule view. Maybe this is more exciting for an operator who knows, okay, for these ships, I've got an ETA of 31st of December, but it actually isn't going to come in for another couple days. And so this is a more traditional Excel style view where the ship owners will come in and actually provide inputs on this screen, and this feeds Voyager as a single source of truth. And maybe a last way to look at the world of shipping, that, to add visibility to the madness of email and phone, is to look at a timeline. And, can I prioritize certain ships that are coming in 7 days? Can we start to feed information to the stevedores and operators, knowing that this ship is not delayed, it's actually going to be early? So as a single source of truth, we provide a lot of views on what does my fleet, what does my cargo slate look like? And that's a fleet level. I'll also zoom in a little bit to show you how information comes in. So that flip side of the single point of truth. For this specific voyage, we receive information via workflows. And I'll spend a little bit of time explaining the value and intricacies of workflows. Workflow can be as simple as a single box that says, we need charter party details. I guess this is 2 boxes. We sit with our customers, we understand what their business looks like, and we agree with them on the flow of information. And this is a very simple one, probably done internally, but we can build even more complicated workflows with our customers to understand all of the different possibilities of what might happen within a certain business unit. And for this ship, you can see we're receiving information from a ton of different processes, from prefixture information like the charter party, all the way to demurrage calculation at the end. And the way we handle this is each group has the opportunity to input different types of information. So again, coming back to the single source of truth. In the past, someone might receive a bevy of emails and have to kind of put that information together using deductive reasoning. Here, our customer in point has to input information and nominate a load inspector. As soon as that's done, an email will be sent out instantly to an inspector who can agree or disagree, can put in information about the schedule, can sign off on the master instructions, etc. And ultimately submit an invoice, and that comes back to the client. And what I want to get to is every single interaction done via Voyager is based on these very strong permissions to allow different groups to input information. And that's where it becomes this single point of truth. And instead of having phone calls, emails, spreadsheets, everything is managed by these workflows. And the result of all of these workflows are, again, more outputs, right? So we can take a look at KPIs from any voyage. Once we start to get invoices coming in, we start to get inspection information, claims like demurrage, information around cargo surveys. For this specific voyage, we haven't gotten that data in yet, so it's waiting. But for a given voyage, with all the information coming in from different sources, we create this single location, this single source of truth that starts to provide really valuable outputs, whether that's fuel consumption, speed emissions, TECE, finances, vetting data. And from this very voyage level, we can extrude that to a fleet level. And I'll show you that in 1 second. Almost done here. Last thing I wanted to point out on a voyage level are these logs. Absolutely everything that's done within the platform is logged and noted. And why is that important? Again, if you really want to trust the data, you need to know when it was entered, who did it, and why it was changed. That's anything from the schedule. Every schedule update is logged. Every detail around cargo or laycan or supplier is logged. And all the information, of course, coming from those workflows we just looked at are logged. So at any point, you can go back in the past and see, hey, what happened? Why did that happen? You don't need to dig forensically into an email inbox and try to figure out why something occurred. And this is also brilliant for auditing purposes, looking 6 to 12 months later to voyage. So the last thing to zoom out and remind everyone is, that was the voyage level. Again, all of these voyages sit together and create a fleet or cargo slate. And everything we build within the system is completely configurable. Maybe for your business, it's not so critical who the supplier is, but the part number is important. We can show that information to you on your landing page, on your dashboard, et cetera. The single source of truth is very open to whatever you need, whatever that truth needs to be. We can provide that via Voyager through our very strong workflow and reports engine here. And so for this particular demo, we've set up a cargo dashboard, some vessel clearances, crude prices, maritime news. This is pertinent to more costs and financial, but if we're working with a group on vetting, we would put vetting information here. So I guess closing up this demo, for me, the important thing is information in is managed in a very unique way, and information out is captured instantaneously, and we can use that information to start making predictions and start managing a business better. And ultimately, the end product is something that really de-risks all of the potential pitfalls that pop up in shipping. Sean, I think that's it for the demo. I'm happy to take some questions.
Thank you, Brett. Appreciate that very much. Got 2 that have been submitted so far. So let me read the first one. How does Voyager overcome reluctance of third parties to use your platform?
Sure, sure, great question. We take a multi-pronged approach in that. I think, first of all, we have built in a lot of mechanisms into the platform to make it easy and fun for the third parties. What does that mean? We spent a number of months, more than a year by now, working with different third parties to understand how they work, how they click, how they look from an email, and that bring information into other systems. So we've tried to build a strong user experience for them. At the same time, we've built a lot of mechanisms that let it happen automatically. So we have a number of APIs, integrations, let's say, that connect third-party systems directly to ours. Rather than needing to manually type in ETAs or bring in SOF information, we can automatically send information from other systems into Voyager, which makes it, there's actually no work that needs to be done by those third parties. The third thing we've tried to do is we provide free access to the third parties, right? We work with a base client, oftentimes a cargo owner, but can be a ship owner or broker. And those clients provide access to third parties. And that means when third parties come into the system, they also have access to reporting, to dashboards, to logs, to all that information, obviously based very strictly on permissions. So they won't see the wrong stuff, but they also get a single source of truth for themselves. And we've seen a lot of third parties who have said, yeah, I actually prefer putting information into Voyager because I get more out than doing things the old way. And so through that buffet of options, we've managed to see a lot less, almost zero pushback from third parties and more rapid acceptance of what we're doing and why.
Great, thanks. Two more. Do you manage several different types of vessels? I'm guessing that means, unique voyages for each vessel.
I guess the answer is both to both of those. So our client list includes offshore rig owners. So we're managing offshore oil rigs. We have customers who are putting information about AHVs, anchor handling vessels, into our platform. We have customers who are putting barges into the platform. And then more traditionally, we have tankers and project cargo ships. We even have some ro-ros and container ships being managed on the platform. That answers the vessel type, but also voyage type. Every customer has the opportunity to sit with us and design how they want to break down their business. With a lot of customers, we separate this by trade lane, Houston or Gulf to Asia, Gulf to Europe. And we'll break these into different voyage types, maybe because there's different deliverables, different contracts, charter parties that are unique there. But for sure, we have the opportunity to look either on a voyage or a vessel level on a couple of different dimensions.
Great, thanks. What about cargo details and pre and on carriage details?
I can talk about cargo details pretty deeply. We have like I mentioned, everything is configurable. I shouldn't say everything, that's a dangerous promise, but a lot of our system is deeply configurable, including cargo. We have the ability to add, of course, any cargo into our system. And for certain clients, there's additional information about that cargo. One client has a certain part number that they need listed for each cargo, and another client needs to know the temperature and density of each cargo. So we have a system that can take in these inputs depending on the client's needs. And that also includes if there needs to be some kind of integration from another system that has 5, 6, 20 columns of information about a cargo, we can take that information into our system and manage it accordingly. I hope I answered that question.
Great, thank you. How long on average does it take for the system to be fully implemented? One of our favorite questions. We like this one.
Yeah, and I think that depends on how many things our users are doing within the system. So that demo I showed you, there were something like 12 different workflows. And each of those workflows, some are simpler than others. All of them, we have something out of the box to provide our customers on day one. But usually our customers like to make some tweaks. They want to add additional information. Maybe they want to build in different levels of permission or verification. And that can take 1 to 2 weeks per workflow. So I hate to do the it depends, but for less workflows, for smaller business cases, maybe working with 1 or 2 business units within a business, it can take a month or less. If we're looking at a full-on rollout to a number of different departments, it can take 3 or 4 months. What I would say is with every rollout, we get faster, we get smarter, we get more intelligent about it. And we try to deliver value as fast as possible to at least one department. And we found that starting with one group, getting them loving Voyager, loving the reports and the automation, and then moving on throughout the organization is the best approach.
Thank you. We have an IoT question here. How do IoT devices introduce data into the platform, and who owns the device?
So we, at the moment, are not connecting to any IoT systems. And when you say IoT, I guess we're thinking about different pumps and sensors and control PLCs, sorry, on ship. At the time being, we haven't taken that information in. If that's an interesting thing, we have a set of APIs, a Voyager API that can take in different types of information. Would love to see a business case or a use case of where IoT information from, I assume, shipboard information, vibrations, whatever, would be useful in a system like this. So maybe I'll reach out to whoever asked that question later and get some more details.
And we're just at the bottom of the hour. We have one more question. The White House is unveiling a data sharing initiative today called FLOW. It's an acronym, Freight Logistics Optimization Works, to help out with shipping problems. Have you heard of this by chance? And also, would you think you could incorporate this into your software?
I have not heard of this. I wonder if it's geared more to containers and container shipping, as that's kind of the hottest topic over the last year or so. We are open to any types of connections. Some are easier than others, but whether that's via API, whether that's via best practices, we have an emissions calculator module. I didn't have time to show it today, but it's used a series of best practices that we've built together with some of our well-known clients, and also following the IMO, International Maritime Organization standards. And everything we build, we look very carefully at what's the latest regulation, what's the latest standards. So it will definitely be interesting to look at FLOW and see if and how we can connect to that. I think we're very open with the concept of visibility, creating visibility and clarity. And if this is an effort that helps to propagate that, I'd definitely love to make sure we're part of that.
Great. We are exactly at the bottom of the hour. So I promised you we wouldn't go over 30 minutes. I want to thank all of you for as I look at the date, spending the Ides of March with us. Hope it was good for you. We certainly appreciate your time. We're going to make this webinar available on our website. That's voyagerportal.com, voyagerportal.com, and look for more invitations and content coming in the future. Thank you again. Thanks, Brett.
Thanks, guys.